Well, ever since Coleman Andrews took 200 million rand plus to leave SAA, South Africans have been very skeptical about the role that foreign CEOs have played when it comes to leading JSE-listed businesses and, of course, major parastatals. However, Steve Ross at Edcon has proved that there is a clear-cut case for foreign skills, and this creates an interesting dynamic in South African business. Appoint the best person for the job or develop local skills. This is the focus of Bruce Whitfield's Finweek cover story this week. Welcome, Johnny Foreigner. For more on this, we've got Jessica Hubbard. She'll be joining the conversation later, but Simona Levitt from Finweek, Johann Redelinghuys, chairman of Heidrick Struggles SA, and in our Cape Town studios, Debbie Goodman-Bhyat, managing director of Jack Hammer Executive Headhunters, joining the conversation. Debbie, thank you so much for joining us today. So, just running through the list, I mean, it's more than just Steve Ross. We've got Ian Woe, heads up Woolworths now, David Neal of Clicks. Then of course there's a lot of other CEOs in South Africa that are of foreign descent. Just from a kind of broad view right now, do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that we have foreign CEOs in South Africa?
Look, I think that it's neither good nor bad. I think it's a market reality. Shareholders want returns, and in order to do that, they need to make sure that they have the right person in the key role, being the CEO or very senior executive roles on a board. And so when it comes to choosing the next successor to a sizable organization of a market cap, of which there are very few in this country, one sometimes needs to go abroad in order to broaden the horizons, in order to broaden the pool of potential talent.
Pick n Pay is the latest appointment from abroad coming through from Tesco in the UK. So basically what you're saying, Debbie, is national borders are becoming irrelevant when you're looking for the best person to lead a company that wants to be globally competitive.
I wouldn't say irrelevant. I think there's absolutely, certainly value that one can add if one comes from a local market. But I think that the borders are blurring, and I think many organizations are recognizing that ultimately what matters is bottom line, growth of companies, and we're straddling both a local market and a global market. Companies are needing to grow. They're needing to continue to deliver shareholder return in an ever consumptive market in many respects. And so just having only the local market to choose from is becoming too narrow for many organizations.
Johann, one of the questions that Bruce Whitfield posed is, are South African companies inept at developing local talent and internal succession planning? What are your thoughts on that comment?
I don't think that that's a question that we even need to address at this stage, because the international market for leadership talent works internationally. So the borders are flat all around, exactly as has been said. I don't think we need to worry about whether a local person is being developed for something or not. Internationally, people move from country to country, and it's not an issue. Why are we concerned about this?
So you don't think that there's an issue when it comes to internal succession planning? Because I know for the likes of SAB Miller, they've got great plans when it comes to ensuring that if someone steps away, there's immediately someone to step into that role. But generally, what is your experience when it comes to creating talent from within?
SAB is a very good example of a top company that does develop people from inside, and just about every company that we ever talk to wants to appoint somebody from inside the business and certainly inside the country, because it's expensive to go outside. But if they can't find the talent inside the company or inside the country, they're business people. They're not here for some political agenda. They want to make the company effective, and you get the top talent. That's the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
What particular skills and attributes do the foreign CEOs add to a local market?
You mentioned earlier David Neal from Clicks,
yeah.
And you mentioned one or two other people. The new man at Pick n Pay comes from Tesco. David Neal came from Boots. I don't think it's particular leadership of any unusual degree, because South Africans have produced wonderful leadership. If you look at people like Marius Klopper, for example, of BHP Billiton, and some of the others, Mick Davis has been mentioned a couple of times, and Ivan Glazenberg. So we're not short of leadership.
And two sides to the coin. Just as much as we import international talent, we're also exporting our talent.
Exactly. But I think deep experience in a particular industry is something that is very valuable. The man who goes to Pick n Pay comes out of Tesco. David Neal came out of Boots. the man who's gone into Sasol, David Constable, comes out of a major international company. So I don't think we should be concerned about this. They bring skills, they bring knowledge, and I think it's good for us.
Debbie, what are your thoughts on the political aspect of it? And of course, this comes hot on the heels of the fact that Cynthia Carroll now resigning from Anglo American, and we're looking for a new CEO there. Susan Chibangu saying that government would prefer someone who is local and of course would put South African interests first. We know the PIC have also made their views heard when it comes to hiring a local candidate. How much does politics play a role when it comes to hiring locals over foreigners?
Look, let's face it, politics is going to play a role, particularly in the hot areas that are currently in the limelight, particularly resources. I think at the end of the day, due consideration is absolutely going to be given and a strong attempt made to find a local South African, preferably a black South African, to take the top job. But at the end of the day, the best person for the job is going to be chosen. And that hopefully will be a black South African, and if not, then there will be a fair competition, I believe. So I agree with Johann. I think that politics at the end of the day is a consideration, but not the raison d'etre, and certainly not the reason to put somebody in a top job. Ultimately, one needs to be delivering value, and it's commercial issues that will take the fall.
Yep. Is it ultimately that in South Africa? I mean, at the end of the day, is it the bottom line that they're going to put forward, or in South Africa is it a different case?
For all the reasons that we know, previously disadvantaged South Africans were not brought up through the ranks of major companies. So there's a tremendous shortage of people with that background who have the expertise and the experience to run big businesses. So the PIC and ANC, of course, have tried they've tried everything to try and put black South Africans into top jobs, but it's not always worked. And so, in fact, it's backfired on occasion. And I think we're doing the country and that population group a disservice by forcing the issue instead of having people who have the skills that we're looking for.
You know, just looking at the numbers, I mean, when you look at the value that companies like Edcon have extracted from having the experience of Steve Ross. I mean, annual sales quadrupling, you're looking at him, acquiring CNN Boardmans during this time. Questionable there, but adding 500 more stores, and Edgar's is the largest retailer in South Africa. So they really do bring on their skills, and it shows and it adds value and creates new jobs in South Africa. So it filters through.
Question is, why are we so defensive about this? Why are we so worried that we should have somebody from an international background to come into South Africa? I don't think people in America or England or Germany or even Australia worry about appointing people from other countries.
Because jobs are such a problem here.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be very cautious about the idea of a foreigner not having a focus on making sure that the local people on the ground actually benefit from them. I think there's a lot of skills transfer that can happen within the company itself from being able to leverage the skills and experience of an international person. And then it's also not to say that a South African CEO necessarily has South Africans at heart. We've got a number of instances in smaller companies where there's been schemes that perhaps have left South Africans actually in the lurch. So it's not to say that foreigners don't think about their impact on the South African economy. If you look at Ian Kirk, for example, head of Santam, what we're seeing there is that they've adopted municipalities. So the company is actually taking an active role in South Africa, despite the fact that he's Irish.
Yeah. And his brother also coming through and heading up the JD Group. Debbie, what are your thoughts on why foreigners like South Africa as a place to come here and head up a large company in South Africa? Because, I mean, just looking traditionally, we are a land of expats. I mean, I've got foreign blood in me. I'm sure many South Africans can say the same. So, what do they see about South Africa that is advantageous when it comes to moving here?
Well, look, I think we all know the answer to that. And certainly, I mean, if they can be based in Cape Town, as I am, I think that the answer would be doubly clear. Absolutely, South Africa presents a wonderful lifestyle for individuals. There's a great opportunity for expats who are in South Africa to use the South African experience as a launching pad, a further development opportunity. South Africa is the launching pad into the rest of Africa, and so gaining exposure into that market is incredibly valuable experience. I just wanted to go back to something that was mentioned about all these foreigners and all these expats that are in all these companies in South Africa. You know, just on an analysis of the top 50, and of that there are only 90% are, 90% in fact are South Africans. It's only 10% that are foreigners. So I think one also needs to take a little bit of context, perhaps broader than the top 50. Yes, absolutely. I'm not saying or not diminishing the issue, but I think we should also be cautious about taking it too far overboard.